everything out. So if we just go now, it doesn't even matter. Cool. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Winged Octopus podcast. I am the producer, Greg. It is me and Tyler tonight. Say hi to everybody, Tyler.
Hey, Greg. How you doing? How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm good. We got a light crew. We got some stuff to
Very
go over
thin.
tonight. We're going to recap our last 4 games. We're going to talk about Peter in Vegas, the fantastic Mike Green, and Zetterberg, also known as Red Wings Jesus. And we also got some questions today from some of our Twitter friends. So we got a lot to go over. We got a little bit of time to do it. And it's just us, so we can have a lovely discussion tonight.
Absolutely. All right. So first,
I want to give a shout out to our lovely sponsor, Howie's Hockey Tape. So Howie's Hockey Tape is a Michigan product from Grand Rapids that now sells to each NHL team, including our very own Detroit Red Wings. Howie's also sells to the NCAA, the AHL, and the OHL. Anything you need for the locker room, Howie's Hockey Tape has. Give them a follow on Instagram at Howie's Hockey Tape and check out their website, howieshockeytape.com or .ca for our Canadian listeners. Another reason why you should check out Howie's is that when you use the promo code WINGEDO, you will get a 10% discount. Show some love for a Michigan company and check out Howie's Hockey Tape today.
Very well done, Greg. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So are you going to go ahead and?
No, you can kick it off.
Okay, so I'm going to kick it off here since Greg's scared to. So we had 4 games here. I'm just kidding, Greg, of course. So we had 4 games here. We've seen the good, the bad, some of the ugly. I think I might have said that the last time, but you know what? We're just going with it here. So a 4-2 win against the Arizona Coyotes. Martin Ferk scores again. And how about Dylan Larkin's assist where he absolutely dangled the defenseman on the Arizona Coyotes and then just absolutely blazes through the neutral zone and then comes to the faceoff dot and just puts a great pass on the tape of Luke Glendening, and he just puts it in the back of the net. Red Wings win that game. A very good 4-2 win against the Coyotes, a 6-3 win against the Vegas Golden Knights. Henrik Zetterberg with 4 points, putting the team on his back. Gustav Nyquist with 2 goals and 1 assist in that game. And then a 3-2 loss at home to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you know what? They fought back a little bit in that game. Nikita Kucherov is just unstoppable for that Tampa Bay team. And then finally, the last game we seen last night, I didn't see a lot of it, but I did watch most of it, in the recapped version and everything. A 6-3 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Jimmy Howard pulled 3 goals on 4 shots. They fought back from down 4-1. They didn't start on time. And Henrik Zetterberg with an unbelievable wraparound goal. Absolutely unbelievable. Dylan Larkin, like from 2 years ago, wouldn't you say, Greg?
Yeah. That's freshman Larkin material right there.
I agree. So, Greg, I want to get your thoughts on the last 4 games, and whichever way you want to do it is fine. But yeah, go ahead.
I can do a little breeze. I can do a breeze through. Martin Ferk, although he cooled off the last few games, he was great in Arizona. What I've noticed in the past, and I mean, even if he's not scoring, Martin Ferk has been on the puck. He's been defensively sound. He's been picking pockets. He's been creating battles along the side. And sure, he has a cannon for a shot. But what I think that he brought over someone like Pulkkinen is that the defensive side to him and I don't like saying grit because we're the Detroit Grit Wings, but he brings a little bit more of the grit to the team that Pulkkinen didn't have. I felt like Pulkkinen was a little soft.
I think Pulkkinen was a little bit too small too, and that's where a guy like Ferk, he might be a little bit bigger. I haven't actually seen, but just by watching the games, it looks like he's a little bit bigger. It also looks like he's thicker. It looks like he has a bit more hockey sense. I feel like Pulkkinen was one of those guys that just like to wire shots at the net. And I know Ferk does too, but I feel like Ferk's a better hockey player than Pulkkinen.
Yeah, I also feel like Ferk's a little more accurate too. Pulky went wide a lot. Ferk seems to be more on target.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, the win over Vegas I felt was real good. I've watched a lot of Vegas. I told myself when another team came into the league is when I would get my second favorite team, and that just happens to be the Vegas Golden Knights now. Vegas has, and people like to shit on them, but they've been solid. I've watched most of their games. James Deal, like the real deal Neal, he is the man.
Yeah, Kayla's boyfriend.
Yeah, he is fantastic. But that was a big win over Vegas. The loss to Tampa, I mean, like you said, Kucherov's insane. I'm not a Tyler Johnson fan.
Nobody is.
But the kid can score, and he's doing it again. Plus Stamkos is healthy, so they may be pretty damn near unstoppable now. The Toronto game, like you said, Jimmy Howard, it was just that's not Jimmy Howard. It's a Howard bad night. But I mean, Mrazek letting in that goal right after he's put in net doesn't help. Like I tweeted out at the beginning of the game, I'm like, we're going to get roasted by Toronto. And then we got roasted by Toronto, and Abdelkader can't move his ass. That was my my big thing. But the Zetterberg goal was probably the highlight of the game, and Zetterberg has been the highlight of this season so far.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Dylan Larkin is a guy that, he hasn't put up the points just yet, but it feels like he's right there. I feel like he's getting ready to break out. I feel like him and Anthony Mantha are the next guys to break out. I feel like Ferk early on was really good, and Zetterberg has been, good since last year. Consistently good is what I mean.
Yeah.
But I feel like I feel like Larkin and Mantha are going to be the next guys to break out, and I think that would be very beneficial because, as you see, teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs, they can put up a 6 spot, and they weren't even playing that great last night. That was the second night of the back-to-back, and they put up 6 goals on your ass. So, if you expect to make the playoffs, you better improve a little bit there. My thoughts on the last 4 games are like, all right, let's see how they respond to adversity. And for the most part, I think they have responded to adversity pretty well. The only exception to be in that Tampa Bay game because, Tampa went up 2-0 and they did fight their way back. So I guess it's not really an exception. But once Tampa Bay scored that second Kucherov goal, and they basically put the game away right there. The Red Wings couldn't get in the zone. There's a little bit of ping pong between the blue lines there. And, they really didn't generate too many more opportunities. I think they may have 1 or 2, but after that was pretty much it.
What a lot of the analysts are saying too is that this week coming up is going to be our trying week because we've got Washington coming in on Friday, Vancouver on Sunday, Buffalo on Tuesday, Tampa again on Thursday. So
that's down there, isn't it?
It's at Tampa. Yeah. That's
what I mean. I guess my closing thoughts are like they've really battled through some things. Danny DeKeyser hasn't been on the blue line, and they've kind of fought through that. They've actually been pretty good defensively. Besides giving up the 6 goals against Toronto. I thought they were pretty good against Tampa Bay. I mean, they weren't good. I think another thing you can take out of these last games, they need to start on time. If they don't starting on time, they're going to get blown out of some of these games. And, I mean, you've seen it last night. Jimmy Howard was pulled, and he really didn't have any help. A garbage line change, and then, the goal that, nobody's going to stop. Austin Matthews is unbelievable. I mean, I don't know who's better between him and Kucherov. I think that, that's an interesting discussion to have. I know a lot of people don't like to discuss wings and centers, but, I mean, as a hockey player, those are 2 damn good hockey players.
Who'd the Red Wings take when Kucherov was available? Was it Ryan Sproul? We got Ryan Sproul before Nikita Kucherov.
I do. Just to interrupt a little bit, I think Ryan Sproul still has the opportunity to be a good defenseman. He just hasn't seen any time yet this year. I would love to see him in there over Eriksson. I'd love to see a pylon in there over Eriksson. We're going to talk about that.
The corpse of Kirk Maltby on the ice, or we want to see I'll take a pylon. Grab a kid from the audience, whoever.
Give me freaking Brett Lepta out there. At least he'll play hard.
Yeah.
Like Erickson, I feel like just glides out there sometimes. Like the giveaway he had against was that Toronto? No, it wasn't. It was against Tampa Bay, and it led to the Kucherov
He's
goal.
had a giveaway in every team or every game.
Well, yes, of course, but the costly one was against Toronto against Tampa Bay the other night at home, and it led to the Kucherov goal, and then at that point it's game over. So
yeah. Well, so the last 4 games they've been. I mean, that's 2 wins, 2 losses, and it's 2 wins against what some people would consider bad teams, and 2 losses against what most people consider good teams. So we're falling right in the mediocre line right now, but we'll see. I agree with you, Dylan Larkin. I think he's at a point per game right now. So he's sneaky. He's getting them assists. He'll find his scoring touch. There was a really awesome article by Craig Custance over at the Athletic that said what Larkin needs to do to turn the corner. And he has to find that space because people aren't going to give it to him. And when he does that, he'll score like he did his freshman year.
Yeah, I think Dylan Larkin is still finding himself as a hockey player. I think I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like he's taken to the center role pretty well. I feel like he's going to continue to improve, and as he gets better defensively, his offense is going to come. He's starting to focus a little bit more on defense, and I think that once he's got that, I think then they can start focusing on introducing the offense into his game and giving him a little bit more leash, if you will.
Yeah. And speaking of focus, looks like someone was focusing on their goaltending in the offseason. Peter Mrazek in Vegas, 3 goals against, 24 saves, which is considerably better than he did last year. Even though he gave up that 1 bad goal in the Toronto game, other than that, he looked good. He made some pretty good sliding saves. He stopped a wraparound. Mrazek looked about as good as you'd ask Mrazek to come in without warming up and after sitting on a bench. So
yeah, Peter Mrazek, to me, it's not about the skill. It really isn't. It's about harnessing him a little bit because like Dylan Larkin, we talked about him. He can run buck wild. It's about harnessing Peter Mrazek. You got to have him, be on his angles because his angles are something that he was pretty good at when he first came here. And he had success right away. I believe it was 2 years ago now. From about a little bit after Thanksgiving time until like almost after the New Year, he was really, really lights out with the Red Wings. We thought it was the future goalie. My key to him is just he's got to learn number 1, the angles, and number 2, to stop being so aggressive because I know that's his game, but you gotta harness that a little bit because there's times where you have to be aggressive. And I played goalie until I was 14 years old. There's times where you have to be aggressive, and there's times where you have to back off and you have to stay back a little bit and make yourself look big. And there's times where he does that, and there's times where he doesn't. I think he's just got to get more consistent with what makes him a good goalie. You know what I mean? And then I think he's still young, so it's really tough to just say, "Oh no, he sucks." No, I don't think he sucks. I just think that he's trying to find himself as a goalie.
If he wouldn't have been so deep in net on that goal, I don't think it would have gotten past him. The one in Toronto, he was just too deep. His angles you can tell his angles have gotten better. It seems, I think he needs to get out of his own head. I think he's in his own head.
I think so too. And I think he's a young kid, and the media asks him a lot of questions. They ask him some stupid questions, and some players can handle it, and some players cannot handle it. And
happening to him is what happened to Howard 2 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. He's a little snake bitten right now, but I think as the season goes on, as he plays a little bit more here and there, I think he is going to get better. And I hope he does because I do like the guy. I met the guy. He was a really nice guy, and not that really matters. But he's a good goalie on top of it all. He's got the skills. He's got the you talk about goalies and having edge. That guy has edge. he has edge. I mean, I don't know if you watched the World Juniors, but in the World Juniors, when he beat the United States, he was jumping around. You know, he's fist pumping. He's
the
jumping.
guy,
The guy has heart. He cares.
He's energetic. You see every whistle, every face off, he's skating around his zone. He's not sitting in the net. He's a loose player, and I've met him a couple times too and talked to him. He's a nice guy. He just needs to. I think he needs to focus a little more, and he'll do it.
Yeah.
And what better to rebuild a team with than shipping out Howie, having Mrazek as your starter, and bringing up Jared Coro, right?
Exactly. Or even, you know, at some point we talked about off air about Keith Petroselli, the guy that the Red Wings drafted in the draft. You know, obviously that's going to be a while from now, but you know, a while from now it turns into
maybe not.
Close, you know. Sometimes it just depends. It really does. Players develop at different speeds.
The other thing I looked into too is, and it's been on Twitter a lot lately because I follow a lot of the foreign leagues. Joran van Pottelberg has apparently been insane so far this year. He's got like a 93% save percentage, and he's doing really well in a men's league. So we're stacked. We're pretty stacked on goalie.
That's definitely a
goalie
good
future.
Sure.
So, but if we want to tank for Dahlin, just play Mrazek the rest of the season. But we'll go from someone who's middling. We'll go from someone who's middling to someone who.
You froze, Greg. I missed what you said. I'm sorry.
We can go from here. So we'll go from someone who is middling right now to someone who is just increasing his trade value on the daily. Mike Green. Mike Green. He's got what, 8 points now? 9 points?
I think it's 9, isn't it? Yeah. He's got 9.
1 goal and 8 assists. He might reach his prime Mike Green point totals. And that will, I mean, like someone, I think it was Kyle from Winging It Motown said earlier, Green's going from getting us a 3rd round pick to getting us a 2nd round pick at the trade deadline.
Hell, or even a 1st at some point, right? Depending on who needs it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mike Green, to me, Mike Green is he's a key to the power play, and you know he's the guy that gets. Tess talked about it on an earlier podcast. I think it was the last one we talked, the last one we had. She was talking about how Mike Green's kind of taken Martin Ferk under his wings, so that's a good thing. And you know, like you said, he's increasing his trade value, which is even more beneficial because yes, this organization does want to make the playoffs, but we have to think big picture wise too, like Mike Babcock says. Yeah.
yes, they want to make the playoffs, but no, secretly they really don't want to make the playoffs. They want high picks. But yeah, Green. I've seen some defensive lapses where he just can't get to it, but offensively and especially dealing that puck to Ferk, like he sees Ferk, he gives Ferk the puck, and Ferk scores a goal. That's the best way you're going to use him. He'll quarterback. And he like everyone's saying, he'll be gone before the trade deadline because he's in the last year of his contract, which will do 2 things for us. Hopefully, it'll get us a high pick, and it will also clear $6.25 million, I think, off of cap space because Larkin and Mantha are in their contract years, and they're gonna, on how they perform this season, are gonna want money.
Yeah, I mean. You got to hope those guys take a step forward, obviously, because, you know, those guys are keys to what this team is going to do. Because, you know, we talked about this before. Ken Holland is on the last year of his deal as well. And, you know, if the new GM comes in, whether that be Steve Yzerman or whether that be Chris Draper or whether that be somebody out of the organization, I think there's no question that Ken Holland's not going to want to do it anymore. I don't think he's going to want to have to go through a rebuild again. I think that they're not going to re-sign him. I just think that whoever comes in, you know, they're going to want to have a little bit of a core. And if Larkin and Mantha have good years and if Athanasiou re-signs at some point, then that's going to be really key for them.
Yeah, I also think the other half of it is I don't think Holland wants to deal with the media bullshit anymore. Because I mean, the media, the fans, they're on him because for a while it seemed like he didn't know what he was doing, signing Abdelkader to huge contracts and signing Darren Helm to a pretty substantial contract, and saying, yeah, we know we got to change some stuff, we know we got to rebuild a little bit, and then just doing the same shit over and over again, and he's finally getting criticized for it, and I think he'll realize that hopefully he'll realize that his time is up.
See, what I think is going to happen, and we've talked about this before, but I think it's going to be something where, like it or not, everyone wants to talk smack about him now, and that's fine. It's rightfully so. He's getting older. The game's changing. But you have to acknowledge what he did. He's one of the greatest GMs of all time. He put this team in a great situation for a long time.
Yeah, he's probably the best cap era GM. He was probably the greatest cap era general manager.
He did a pretty good job. I think Stan Bowman did a pretty good job.
Pre-cap
yes,
era.
Pre-cap. Yes, exactly. Because post-cap, or no, during, cap era right now, I think Stan Bowman has done a really good job. And I think Steve Yzerman has done a pretty good job quietly in Tampa Bay as well.
Oh, yeah.
But just one quick thing about Ken Holland. If he leaves, he's not leaving. He's going to take a higher job with less of a commitment, less of a thing. He's getting older now, and he's going to take something less, and he's not going to have to do as much. He's not going to have as much say, and he's going to have an office at Little Caesars Arena, and that's what's going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
They're not just going to kick the guy to the curb. They're not just going to fire him like Dombrowski got fired at the Tigers.
No.
It's not going to work like that. Ken Holland brought championships to Detroit. Not just one, not two, not three, but four.
A slidey
and
chair.
Almost five. So, you can't just throw that guy out. But
no. Yeah. He'll have a comfy office job with a sliding chair and his own computer and hopefully a window to the outside.
Probably not much to do, really.
Yeah, but I mean, he deserves his next step. He just has to be willing to take it, I think. But speaking of next steps, someone who is not taking a step toward retirement seems to be Henrik Zetterberg. Henrik Zetterberg, or the Jesus of Motown, 4 goals and 4 assists, and he literally carried the team during a few games.
Yeah, he's been everything that we've hoped and dreamed of. I mean, he's 37 years old and he's flipping it back as if he was 27 or 30 years old. He's protecting the puck like Jaromir Jagr. And you know what? Believe it or not, I don't know if this is old man speed or what, but he looks fast out there, doesn't he? Not like Dylan Larkin fast or like NHL fast, but he looks fast out there. He does.
No, he's aging veteran fast. I mean, the game against Vegas where he had a goal and 3 assists, he basically won that game for them. And after his back surgery, you're like, man, you watch that season, you're like, Zetterberg doesn't look so good. And then last year he comes back and he's great, and this year he's off to the same start. And I mean, it's classic Zetterberg, and I don't think he'll quit. I think the only reason he would leave is if his health declined again.
Yeah, another injury.
Yeah. But I mean, Zetterberg's here. He's an amazing mentor for the kids. He puts the team on his back when he needs to. He gets beautiful goals like that wraparound to turn the momentum. You really couldn't ask anything more from the captain of your team. I just hope that the younger guys are taking note.
I feel like at one point in time, fans were starting to sour on Zetterberg a little bit, and I think the media a little bit was starting to sour on Zetterberg, and I feel like that's turned a complete 180 now, and everyone loves Zetterberg. Maybe not as much as Yzerman or Lidstrom, but he's still one of those guys. Like I've talked to fans before that said. Like I remember having a discussion like, is Zetterberg's number going to go up there with Datsuk and with Lidstrom and Zetterberg and all this? Absolutely. And before, people said no. Now I think just about everybody would say yes, because he's done everything you've hoped and dreamed of.
I mean, I've had to convince people that Zetterberg should be in the Hall of Fame, and that's not something you should have to convince people. He's one of the most undervalued, underappreciated players in the league, I believe. They don't talk about him. They don't talk about him like they talk about Crosby and Malkin. They don't talk about him like they talk about, because a lot of these kids are younger, like Taves and Kane, and they'll rave about them all day, McDavid. But when you look at Zetterberg season over season, I mean, name me a better captain. Who's a better captain in the league right now than Henrik Zetterberg?
It's tough. It's really tough. I mean,
exactly.
The only guy that I could think of, and you might think I'm absolutely nuts for this, and we may not like him as fans and as podcasters, but Zdeno Chara has done a really good job with the Bruins for a long time, and you got to give it to him. I don't know if he's better than Henrik Zetterberg, but he's done it for a longer time. Sidney Crosby, obviously, but I mean that's just skill wise. I don't think he's the captain because he motivates the team. I think he's just the best player on the team.
Yeah, Chara has also declined a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean considerably.
Yeah, he's not as good as he once was.
Yeah, but I mean, as a leader, and he's in the same age group as Zetterberg, but as leader qualities, I think that's the last great leaders is what's happening right now with people like Chara and Zetterberg.
I agree.
But I think we're gonna move on to our Twitter fan question segment. So we're doing something a little new. Episode or every other now we're going to pick 3 Twitter questions to answer, and we actually got some pretty good ones. We're gonna start with from @MikeyIsViral. So what's up, Mikey? He is asking, Wings performance is welcome to the show or welcome to the foe? So is it fake, or is what the Wings doing right now real? And I say after the game in Toronto, what the Wings doing is real. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some. We'll lose more than we win. I think the performance from the young players is real, and so are the results of what's been.
You froze.
It's good. You can. Do you know how much it got?
I got the whole question.
Is it good? Yeah, I can
hear
you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think you're right. It's a little bit of both. They've played pretty well. I think they're going to be a resilient team. I mean, you get that right away. I think they're going to be a real resilient team. I think they're going to bust their ass. They seem to be less lackadaisical than most teams, or most like the last 2 Red Wings teams. So I guess that's a good thing. The other thing I would say is, like you said, that the younger guys, are doing a really good job, and I think that's going to get better and better as the season goes on. But yeah, for me, it comes down to. For me, just real quickly, for me, it comes down to, are they going to be able to take that step forward? And that's the key question there. And that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, I think
like I said, it's a little bit of both, but I would say it's welcome to the show. I think they're going to be they're going to win some games, they're going to lose some games.
Yeah, I'm going to go with welcome to the show, too. You know what you're seeing from Jonathan Ericsson is real. It's real bad. You know what you're seeing from Mantha and Larkin is real. It's real good. I don't think could you consider fake?
Is there anything that they're doing that I could consider fake? I think, call me crazy, I think their power play is going to be better than it's been so far.
Was if they are any good, any buyouts this summer, and the only person I could see them buying out is Eriksson, honestly.
I don't even think it's possible now. I think he's got a no movement coming up here. Or maybe not. Maybe they just don't want to do it because they have the Stephen Weiss one that they're still paying for. So I'm not sure. But to me, that Eriksson would be the only one that I can think of, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, because if they do anything else, I'm still mind values going up. Twitter question from @RedRogue71. What does it take to get Eriksson out of the starting lineup? I'm going to say it will take Jeff Blashill to go watch a VHS tape of Old Yeller and rinse and repeat. But my problem with, and it goes back to my one of my problems with this team is they're too loyal. Eriksson's been around for a long time. He's played.
See, but I don't even agree with the fact that like people say he was good. I never remember him being great. Like I remember him being serviceable, but that's not good. Like you want defensemen like his size to be way better than good or serviceable, and he's been downright terrible like the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, Eriksson. If he gets injured, like even if he gets injured and they kick him out of the lineup, they don't have any cap room to replace him, so I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, here's my thing with Eriksson. I don't understand what it is that he has against them. I don't know what it is. I really couldn't tell you. But they need to figure it out because this guy, what it's going to take realistically is Ken Holland to, move on to the front office or, Jeff Blashill will lose his job. Or realistically, pretty much only Ken Holland leaving and the new GM, not really giving a crap about the players that are on the team now. And I think that would be the only way that he ends up getting out of here. I will say another thing. This offseason here for the Red Wings, I think is going to be sneaky important, like depending on what happens with the GM situation and, if the GM wants to hire his own coach and if the GM wants to bring in his own players and, trade some of the crap that we have here if he can get rid of it. But ultimately I would say Eriksson, the only way he's gone is if Holland's gone.
Yeah, they're not even going to think about benching him. I mean, I really don't think he could do anything bad enough for them to bench him.
The only way is if he gets hurt.
Yep, and even then he has to get hurt enough to be put on long-term injury reserve to clear cap to bring up a Griffin.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah,
let's move on.
Oh, go ahead.
So let's move on to our last Twitter question from @AthanaSeeYouLater, which actually might happen. Do you think Larkin and Mantha can keep up the scoring as the season goes on? Tyler, I'll let you start this one.
Yeah, I think can they keep it up? Yes, and I think they're going to get even better. As I've said before on this podcast, I think that they're a tandem here, and I think those guys are going to be the future of this team. And if they can continue to improve, like I said, Larkin defensively, Mantha, he's just going to have to continue his offensive, production. And I think he can be a guy that can be a 30, 35 goal scorer. Even 25 would probably be, serviceable enough for them.
Yeah.
And, I think ultimately it comes down to, are those guys – going to take the next step forward, and I've talked about that before. But yeah, I think they're going to get better. I think they're going to get better and better and better.
Yeah, I think I agree. I've put Mantha in that 30 to 35 goal range within the next 2 seasons, this season or next season. I mean, I'd be shocked if he didn't score 25 this season. Larkin, I think he's more rounded. I think he'll be in the 20 goal range, 20 to 22-30 in the middle. But he'll get a lot more assists. He'll make a lot more defensive plays. He's just a more well-rounded player. I mean, they're training their next captain. I mean, you saw, if you didn't see, he went after Tatar scored his 100th goal. Larkin knew when Larkin went and got the puck for him. Larkin brought that puck back to the bench. It's leadership stuff. Do I think that they'll keep scoring like they're scoring now? I agree with Tyler. I think they'll keep going up. Mantha's got a lot to prove. He is very intelligent. He realizes what he needs to do. He knows, and they even asked him, they're like, well, did you have a realization on what you need to do? He's like, I always knew what I needed to do. It's just actually coming in and doing it every day.
Exactly.
So he's got the determination to do it. So yeah, I think they're going to get better. I don't think they can go down. I don't think it's possible.
I have one question.
But there's also.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have one question for you. And, early on, the offense has been really good, better than last year. Do you think that's going to continue, or do you think that's going to be something that'll come back to the pack a little bit?
It'll continue if you get Nyquist and Tatar going. Tatar, I feel like Tatar has had just bad luck. He's had a lot of chances. He whiffed on a puck a few games ago with a wide open net. He just couldn't lift it. Same thing with Nyquist. If they find they're scoring, I don't think offense will be a problem. I think defense is still our hole. So we could score 5 goals in a game, but if our defense lets in 7, we're not going to win them.
At least we're going to be an exciting team to watch if we start scoring a lot of goals. I'm totally fine with that through a mini rebuild or whatever you want to call this period. I feel like right now we're a little bit in a lull, right? Yeah. The current GM only has 1 year left on his contract. He's in the last year of his contract. Yeah. You have coach that you don't know if he's going to be the future coach. You have a bunch of players that are getting older. You have an owner that just passed away, unfortunately. Yeah. You feel like you're a little bit in the lull. What's going to happen with the GM situation? What's going to happen with the coach situation? You just moved into a new building. That just makes it kind of awkward, doesn't it? So you're in a very weird situation, and it doesn't really get better until you get a new GM or Holland gets extended, which I don't think is happening.
Yeah, I said this earlier too. Like the fan base is going to be real tired after this season. They're going to have to do something to reignite the fan base in the off season, whether it's try and steal Yzerman away from Tampa or buy out a couple players and bring in youth or make a big trade. They're going to have to do something because we got a new arena. But after this season, that arena is not really sparkly and new anymore.
Exactly. It's just another hockey arena where if the teams – you know what, though? I will say one thing about Detroit sports, and, this might not hold true at the new arena just yet, but – and we'll talk about that at some other point in time. I actually might come up with an article at some point. But Detroit sports, they're pretty loyal, and they support their teams really well. The Tigers, the Lions, and the Red Wings, obviously. The Pistons, I'm going to leave out of it for now because they just moved downtown. There was empty seats last night. And, there's been empty seats at the Red Wings game too. But there was a lot of empty seats there for opening night. And I think it's just going to take some time from them, moving downtown for people to get used to it. So I'll just leave those out for now. But I feel like it doesn't matter what happens. When the Red Wings are good or bad, people support them. When the Tigers are good or bad, people like them. And when the Lions are good or bad, obviously people support them. So
forever.
The city supports the teams. I'm not going to tell you that. The state itself supports the teams. So there's a follow-up to the question too, and this is what we're going to kind of end with. Pick a person. Who do you think could be playing better than they have? And the rule is you cannot pick Jonathan Ericsson. Okay, I like that rule. You go first. I want to see who you pick.
Who could be playing better? Danny DeKeyser, when he comes back from injury, he had a rough year last year. The year before that was decent, but everyone just crapped all over him last year. he wasn't very good. I think a lot of that was pairing him with Cronwall. If we can get him with a younger kid, get him get Cronwall out, get someone up, and Danny DeKeyser, I think, has a lot to prove for making the money that he's making. So I think defensively, Danny DeKeyser.
Here's just one thing I'll add about DeKeyser. I really like DeKeyser. He's one of my favorite players on the team. But with that being said, he was terrible last year. He could be a lot better than that. And he'll tell you that himself. But to me, there is a lot to it, right? They had him playing with Mike Green a little bit last year, and Mike Green's not great defensively. Before, who did they have him playing with when he was doing well? Kyle Quincy. So they need to put him with someone similar to Kyle Quincy. Maybe Trevor Daly would be a good fit.
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
So
Daly's been fast. Daly's been pretty electric, and I think if you pair him with DeKeyser, and DeKeyser got a pretty good shot. If DeKeyser can just put pucks toward the net, and let Daly kind of worry more about defense while he refines his game, I think he can do it. But he's my pick. Who's your pick?
It's a tough one. It's a tough question. It really is. I think a guy that can play much better than he has so far, and this is going to come to a surprise a little bit, but I think a guy like Gustav Nyquist, I think he's a guy that I've been saying this for the last few years. When Nyquist and Tatar both get hot, there's very guys that don't compare to them.
I agree.
But it's so weird. The situation is so weird between those guys. But Gustav Nyquist in particular, I think he can put the puck in the net a hell of a lot more than he has so far, and I think he will. I think he will.
He's proved it.
Yeah, I agree. That's my pick. Other than that, I think everyone's played pretty well. Even Nyquist has played good, but I'd like to see him play a little bit better than he has.
Yeah, I mean, you really could have seen much worse to the start of this season. But I've been surprised with the way a lot of people have played.
Yeah, I just want to see a hockey season, I want to see them be a decent team early on, and then if they fade at the end, they fade at the end. That's fine. Miss the playoffs, get a pick, and move on.
Yeah, I also don't want to see 500 man hours lost to injury.
So. Yeah, not me either.
Yeah,
That's
but I think
fun.
that I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Keep an eye out for the article that I'm going to be writing pretty soon. Going to come out.
Cool.
That's all I really have.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to shout out our Twitter tags.
Yeah, for sure. You can follow me on Twitter at Tyler_Seeley. You can also follow the Winged Octopus on Twitter at Winged Octopus, and you can like us on Facebook. Also follow us on Instagram, and we have a Snapchat, Winged Octopus, as well. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, our podcasts are also now on Stitcher. So Stitcher's a pretty popular podcast app.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, I figured all that out. That's fun shit. You can follow me on Twitter at Bringing the Wing. I also do some Twitter takeovers for the Winged Octopus account to live tweet. We try to live tweet every game, and I try to make it a little bit exciting.
Hey guys, one last side note. Send us your questions. We want to hear your questions. We want to answer your questions because eventually we want to do a live show where we answer nothing but your questions at rapid fire. So please send us your questions, and we'll be happy to answer all of them.
We love you, and we want to talk to you.
Absolutely.
And we want you to talk to us. But that does it. I think that does it, Tyler.
Yeah, stay classy, Hockeytown. Go Wings. Beat the Caps. It's a gauntlet game coming up here. A Friday night, not at the Joe, at Little Caesars Arena. And we'll see you there.
Good night, everyone.